It's a subgenre of BL I like to call the Angels and Demonship, where an angelic, charismatic, platinum blonde bombshell has a bromance with a broody, demonic, or at least cursed brunette. Bonus points if they spend 12 episodes or more racing towards Azelku's mad ambition. Or if there's a master-slave dynamic. If you're a fan of this niche as I am, then Denyuden should definitely spark some joy. Meet Raina Ruto, a strong but lazy as fuck MC whose powers could make or break the world if he could be buffed. And Shion Astaru, a posh idealistic prince with eyes on the throne. And this is the hidden romantic subtext of Densetsu no Yusha no Densetsu, or Legend of Legendary Heroes. Normally I'd start with how these two met, but Reiner is an infamous Alpha Sigma, a wielder of cursed demonic power because of course he is, and Sion has done his research on him.
Roland 最強の魔術師、黒髪の悪魔、ライナ・リュート。
He's convinced himself that finding and ensnaring Reiner would help him achieve his dream of attaining the throne and making Roland Empire great again. So naturally, when he and Reiner finally do meet in military school, Sion goes after him immediately.
俺はアルファスティグマ保持者のお前が欲しいんだよ。なあ、ライナ。なんだよ。お前はこんな腐った国を叩き潰してやりたいと思ったことはないのか。アルファスティグマだということだけで意味嫌われる国。俺がやってやるよ、ライナ。俺がこの国の王になって全てを変えてみせる。お前がかつて望んだ世界を作ってやるよ。だからライナ、俺についてこい。
I was under the impression that their inevitable future joint slay was meant to be the driving force behind the plot of the show. Plans very rapidly change and Lazybones Reiner actually turns him down.
悪いけど俺パス。
Sion realizes he might just love Reiner's personality, demon powers or not. He's still trying to figure out why it is he wants Reiner so badly.
面白いよ。だから俺はお前が欲しいのかもしれないな。アルファスティグマなんて関係なし。
The plot goes in another unexpected direction when Reiner gets thrown in jail for, well, existing. And he refuses to break out with Sion's help. While Reiner is living his best life behind bars, Sion attains his dream of becoming king and running the current Roland Empire Reformation. Somehow. This should have been a big deal. But instead Sion's rise to power just happens off-screen, with zero fanfare or MC involvement. It's like something was cut abruptly or rewritten at the 23rd hour. I wonder if the homoerotic tone of the cheeky dark-haired guy with the demon powers and his platinum blonde boyfriend who literally has to eat him to survive, while they take turns saving each other's story, was rubbing male viewers the wrong way. And why yes, Denyuden and Owari no Seraph were written by the same guy. Thanks for noticing. Anyway, Sion really changes his tune between the start of the anime and now. After Reiner is pardoned and released, Sion summons him to the royal court, but they barely speak to each other. He goes from wanting Reiner for his plans and in his life to sending him and Ferris on a magical fetch quest for months at a time.
はあ、なんで俺が？世界の平和のために一つ頼むよ。
Even after the plot goes out of its way to put them as far apart as possible, Sion still keeps tabs on Reiner. As soon as he finds out what country Reiner's in, he suddenly finds a reason to go there. Sion skips town and leaps off of balconies to go see him the instant royal meetings are over.
ようライナー、久しぶりだな。ちゃんと仕事はやってたか？
Shit hits the fan in episode 3 and you finally get to see Reiner's barely controllable turn people into hot chunks of meat with a hard glare Alpha Stigma powers. Reiner hates using these powers, and for good reason. He hasn't done so in 7 years, and they come at the expense of his sanity. But Bei was in trouble, so... Normally in anime, when a guy's power flares wildly out of control, it's the heroine that calms him down. But this time it's actually Sion that brings Reiner back to his senses. Gently laying a hand over his eyes and pushing him down to the ground is all it takes. Later in episode 15, after the long magical MacGuffin mambo he was forced on with Ferris, Reiner angrily returns to Roland Empire with plans to kill Sion for actually making him work. He sneaks into Sion's room, plotting a most diabolical scheme to have a book fall on his head as he enters. But he ends up taking a nap in Sion's bed instead. Yes, really.
Ohayo, Raina.
Ohayo じゃね
で、いつ戻った？
今朝。
それでどうして俺のベッドに？
それがいろいろあってさ。
Reiner, still refusing to leave his bed, has flirty 90s rom-com banter with Sion, as you do.
国王暗殺は重罪だ。
ダメだ。
いやいや、偉いな。
Then the bromance gets dialed up to 11.
シオン。
There's no narrative need for this scene, yet it is absolutely necessary.
お前疲れてんな。
そうかな。
In case the bromance wasn't obvious enough, Ferris and company burst in moments later. I love that they immediately assume sex has happened.
ちげえよ。
マスタール陛下？なんでライナが陛下と？
そうだったのか。すまないライナ。今まで気づかなくて。世間の風は冷たいだろうが幸せにな。
Now, if you were in denial, it'd be easy to just write this scene off as funjo bait or fan service. But only if it didn't keep happening.
ずいぶんここが気に入ったようだな。
なあ。
Why Reiner's naps need to take place in Sion's bed specifically needs no actual explanation. And Sion can never quite bring himself to kick him out anyway. This show likes to take a lot of gender tropes and turn them on their heads. Ferris and Kiefer are better, more skilled fighters than both the male leads. Ferris even needs to rescue them and basically is the muscle for day-to-day battles. Sion, however, is the long-haired pretty boy and bleeding heart philanthropist workaholic that always wants the MC at his side, a role more often played by a female character. But Reiner's not-so-secret admirer, Kiefer, is a bit of a tomboy. She's violent, short-haired, short-tempered, and pushy compared to the timid moe girls of other shows. It usually takes forever and a day to call senpai by his first name or give a confession. Kiefer manages that in 2 episodes.
私と一緒に逃げてくれない？ねえ、私と一緒に行こう。シオンじゃなく、私と一緒に。
何言ってるんだよ。
私、ライナが好き。ずっとライナが好きだった。ライナは私のこと嫌い。
もうなんだよキバ。こんな時に冗談なんて。
Reiner just isn't interested in her, the only woman to give him the time of day. The show goes out of its way to show her waltzing into Reiner's room, sliding into his bed uninvited, but Reiner moves away from her, not towards. Even when she crawls over to him, even when she gives him fuck me eyes, nothing happens in this scene. Reiner's neither thirsty nor shy, and he treats her love and desire like a burden. Meanwhile, after the grisly attack earlier, she and Reiner are thrown in jail for treason. Later, after bartering himself for Kiefer's freedom, Reiner is allowed to see her. Realizing what he's done, Kiefer pours her heart out to Reiner for the 3rd time in 48 hours. She even kisses him, and he barely reacts to it at all.
行きます。
びっくりした。窒息するかと思った。
Kiefer is written out of the show by episode 4 and doesn't come back until episode 13 after the show has set her up with someone new. She could do worse. For the sake of plausible deniability, Denyuden also ships Reiner with Fettis. But she spends 80% of her screen time doing him dirty in front of his squad, talking shite, or spreading rapist or pedo rumors about him, then beating his ass some more. The standard tsundere course beat meal, I guess. Despite all of that, they do at least get along. And since this is a shonen anime, of course her cake gets moist for Reiner at some point. But the relationship always seemed one-sided to me. Or has the exact same dynamic and setup of open-minded acceptance as Reiner and Sion, but with tits and assault added.
私の寝込みを襲うなどと考えているのなら。
襲わねえよ。
Since one BL ship is never enough, Roland Empire's Lieutenant General Fraud, yes, his name is Fraud, has a yandere-level devotion to Xion. Whenever he's not making bedroom eyes at him, Fraud is quick to kill in Xion's name, especially if he believes they're in any way a threat to his majesty.
死んでください。
Though when he kills this totally not a child molester adopted father, that shit was a long time coming. Anyway, Fraud rapidly goes from being overly helpful to possessive and slavishly attentive in the span of 2 episodes.
あなたのお選びになった道は、私の指し示したものよりずっと多くの血が流れるのですよ。そしてあなたは思い悩む。ならばその悩みを私が少しでも軽くして差し上げなければ、すべては我が陛下の命のままに。
Unsurprisingly, he's not too keen on Reiner. Competition for Xion, most likely. Fraud knows Reiner is the king's ultimate weakness, and since he watches Xion so closely, he knows he fears nothing more than Reiner leaving Roland, i.e. leaving him of his own accord one day.
ライナー竜と取り除く必要がありますね。
Honestly, he's not wrong. Reiner was the person Xion trusts most even among his many supporters. But the men in Xion's court are convinced Reiner is too much of a liability. In episode 17, their scheming pays off and Reiner sees a decree ordering his murder should his powers rage out of control, signed and sealed by Xion himself. I know their argument is that Reiner is Xion's weakness, but Xion is just as much a weakness for him as well. Reiner reads that "it's not me, it's you" letter over and over again as if he's hoping it'll say something different. Xion actively sought him out and has been his friend this entire time. So the second Reiner thinks Xion's no longer in his corner, his eyes go dead. Reiner drops everything and skips town the next morning.
ライナが失踪した。
He starts having terrible nightmares and quickly falls into a depression, with a listless 1,000-yard stare and no appetite, while the usually focused and driven Xion shirks his duties. Xion is finally able to confront Reiner on the battlefield after tracking down a different and highly volatile Alpha Stigma bearer.
お前らのせいじゃないよ。俺はお前らが好きだった。お前にもこれ以上迷惑はかけられないよ。いつ暴走するか分かんない化け物を飼うのは大変だろう。
ライナ
だからルーク・スタッカートに命じたんだろう。いざとなったら俺を殺せって。
ライナ違うんだ。あれは
お前は間違ってないよ、シオン。
ライナ
だからそんな苦しそうな顔するな。悪いのは俺だ。俺がいるだけでお前をこんなに苦しめて。
Xion tries his best to convince Reiner to stay, that he cares and that he's not a burden. But one misunderstanding leads to another, and in his distraught state, Reiner leaves with the crazy Alpha Stigma user. Reiner doesn't stay gone for very long and quickly gets over this big mood he's in. He comes to realize nothing was solved by running away, and that he only made everyone, including himself, sad with his absence. And this realization helps him gain some control over his powers.
ローランドに帰るよ。もう逃げるのはやめだ。
After he returns, Reiner may act as a liaison between the hopefully benevolent Alpha Stigma users and the Empire, so it's supposed to be a win-win. But Xion couldn't care less about the political agenda. He just wanted Bei back safe and sound.
そんなものには何の意味もないんだ。ライナがどれほど役に立とうが無能だろうが、そんなことは。
本当はルーク・スタッカートがライナ・リュートを殺していてくれれば、その方が君にとっては良かったのにね。後悔しないことを願うよ。
A running theme with this franchise is how often Reiner and Xion get pulled apart because of some stupid bullshit. Reiner comes home again in episode 21.
よかった。二人とも帰ってきてくれて本当によかった。おかえり、ライナ。
But given his track record, Xion just can't shake the feeling that Bei may leave or be killed one day.
ライナ、本当に帰ってきてしまったんだな。
おい、シオン。どうした？ 具合でも悪いのか？
いや、なんでもない。
Jafar, Fraud, pounces on this anxiety and just pisses in Sion's ear about killing Reiner just after he got back. Sion finally puts his foot down and refuses to have his BFF, murdered. At this point, the show is getting very down and dour, so to brighten the mood a bit, there's an entire episode before the climax dedicated to playful BL shenanigans and the entire kingdom coming together to celebrate Sion's birthday. Reiner uses his powers to put on a lovely fireworks display as the festivities' grand finale. A grateful Sion leaves his own party to go personally pick him up from the edge of town, alone, all while this super lovey-dovey song plays in the background. Reiner's Uber arrives and Sion takes him to the place where he made his change the world oath to him at the beginning of the series. They chat each other up for a bit and skip down memory lane. They're allowed this one last peaceful moment together to stare at one another lovingly, before their destinies come crashing down and Sion rapidly starts losing his mind. As it turns out, Reiner and Sion descended from two powerful ancient beings, a fallen black hero and a lonely demon. Take a wild guess who was who. Anyway, a flashback depicts the hero fighting a suspiciously all-female army, and he's nearly killed in the process. In order to survive, he consumes the flesh of his beloved lonely demon, who's only happy to give him his body, or anything really. Feel free to read that any way you like.
You can have whatever you want, my sword or my ass.
落ちた黒い勇者は世界を救うため、寂しがりの悪魔を食らう。
It's basically a gritty reboot version of the story in Yasashi Akuma, a G-rated kid-friendly demon bromance from December 2018. Like Reiner original, Smoochie, yes that's its name, never had a friend before and graciously gave his life for Plu's benefit. Sion has no interest in repeating the past, but he hardly gets a say in the matter as the fallen hero takes over and starts calling the shots. Killing or devouring Reiner again is his plan, even though there's really no need for that anymore. Sion literally spends the better part of episode 22 agonizing and arguing with himself about sparing Reiner's life. But since BL got a BL, there still manages to be a moment during their tearful bro-down where I was sure Sion was gonna kiss him. Romantic as this anime is, it's just one of a very long list of shows where writers try to disguise the overt gay subtext by making the male leads fight for flimsy reasons or have them just die needlessly. So the potential of romance is hidden under a layer of violence and tragedy. Anyway, if you can't already tell, Denyuden is definitely the kind of show that gets lost in its own lore. But at the end of the day, it's a story about Reiner and Sion taking turns saving each other in their own incredibly awkward ways. Sion's life goal was to make Roland Empire the kind of place Reiner would be happy to live in, and he runs himself into the ground trying to make that happen.
お前が先に寝たら俺が寝られなくなるだろう。
The final episode actually wraps with Reiner and Ferris on an endless quest to save Sion from himself. Reiner vowing to never give up on him and to never ever stop chasing him.